Hello everyone. Today we are going to start a new chapter about a very important person in science history, that is Marie Curie. The chapter is called A Radiant Life. Let us read about her early life and her journey to becoming a famous scientist. But before that, please like, subscribe and share my channel. Thank you. Marie Curie's work on radium and radiology has been one of the greatest glories of modern science. Let us read an excerpt from her biography written by her daughter Eve Curie. Now the easy explanation for these lines is that Marie Curie has discovered major discoveries she made on radium and X-rays, which were a huge deal for the modern science. We are now going to read a small part of a book about her life written by her daughter Eve Curie. In the autumn of 1891, a young Polish immigrant named Marie Sklodowska excitedly registered for the science course at the Sorbonne in Paris. Too shy to make friends, she lived a life of monastic simplicity, devoted to study alone. From her small income, she had to pay for her room, meals, clothes, and expenses at the university. When she wanted a feast, she bought 2 eggs or a piece of chocolate with some fruit. In 1891, a young woman from Poland named Mary was thrilled to sign up for the science classes at the university in Paris. And the name of the university is Sorbonne University. She was very shy and did not have friends. So she lived a very simple life. Here the monastic means a very simple life as led by the monks. She only focused on her studies. With very little money, she had to pay for her living expenses, the place where she was living, for food, clothes, and school fees. As a special treat, she would buy 2 eggs or a piece of chocolate with some fruit. Mary met Pierre Curie in 1894, a French scientist of genius. Pierre, like her, was devoted body and soul to scientific research. Immediate sympathy brought them together, and in a few months Pierre asked Mary to be his wife. But to marry a Frenchman meant she had to leave her beloved, oppressed Poland, and so 10 months passed before Mary finally accepted. Means that Mary met a brilliant French scientist named Pierre Curie in 1894. Just like her, he loved science more than anything else. They felt a connection right away, and after a few months, he asked her to marry him. However, Mary loved her home country. She was basically from Poland, and she loved her home country, Poland, so much, and marrying Pierre would mean that she couldn't go back. Because of this, she waited for 10 months before she finally agreed to marry him. Their life together in a little flat was singularly lacking in comfort. They refused the furniture offered to them by Pierre's father. The bare quarters were furnished only with books, 2 chairs, and a white wooden table. On the table were treatises on physics, a lamp, a bunch of flowers, and that was all. Now in this passage describes the simple living conditions of Mary and Curie after they got married. Their life together in a little flat was singularly lacking in comfort. Means the apartment where they lived together was very uncomfortable. They refused the furniture offered to them by Pierre's father, and they did not accept the furniture which Pierre's father offered to give them. Their small rooms were almost empty. The only things inside were books, 2 chairs, and a simple white wooden table. And on that table they had some detailed books on physics, a lamp, and some flowers, and nothing else. Now the next paragraph. Little by little, Mary improved her housekeeping wisdom. She invented dishes which needed little preparation or could be left to cook themselves. Before going out, Mary would regulate the flame with a physicist's precision. Then in a quarter of an hour, bent over other containers, she would regulate the flame on a laboratory burner with the same careful gesture. Now, little by little, Mary improved her housekeeping wisdom. Means Mary slowly got better at managing her home and, in cooking also. She created simple meals that were quick to make or could be left alone to cook. Before going out, Mary would regulate the flame with a physicist's precision. These lines means that before she used to leave the house, she would adjust the stove's flame very carefully like a scientist. A short time later, she would be in her lab doing the exact same careful adjustments to the flame of her science equipments. When her daughter Irene, who was a future Nobel Prize winner, was born, the idea of choosing between family and the scientific career did not even cross Mary's mind. Means when her daughter Irene was born, Mary never even thought about having to choose between raising her daughter, raising her family, and continuing her science career. With Pierre's support, she kept family and the scientific career. Means that with the help of her husband, Pierre, she was able to have both a family and her science career altogether. With Pierre's support, she managed both house, watched her baby daughter, but also kept on working in a laboratory, working towards most important discovery of modern science. Means that with the help of her husband, they both managed their house and her scientific career equally. Okay. Mary took care of her home and her baby also, but she also kept working in her laboratory, trying to make a major scientific discovery. Pierre Curie, who had followed the rapid progress of his wife's experiments with passionate interest, now abandoned his own research in order to aid with hers. Means that Pierre Curie was very interested in his wife's work. He stopped his own research to help her with her experiments instead. Two brains, 4 hands now sought the unknown element in the damp little storeroom that served as their laboratory. Means Perry and Mary worked together as a team, okay, using their minds and hands to search for a new undiscovered element in their small wet lab. By July 1898, they were able to announce the discovery of a new element. Mary named it polonium after her beloved Poland. Means that in July 1898 they had found a new element. They discovered a new element and she named it polonium to honor her home country Poland. In December of the same year, the Curies announced the existence of second new chemical element which they called radium, an element whose radioactivity they believed to be enormous. Means just a few months after the first discovery, in December, they announced that they had found a second new element. They named it radium and they believed it had a huge amount of radioactivity. Dressed in her old dust-covered and acid-stained smock, her hair blown by wind, surrounded by bitter smoke from her experiments, which stung her eyes and throat, Mary was a virtual factory all by herself. These were some of the happiest years of life. Means that she was a dedicated scientist. Okay, Mary worked incredibly hard in her lab. She wore an old dirty lab coat and her hair was messed up from the wind. The smoke from her experiments made her eyes and throat burn, but she kept on going like a one-person factory. Okay. And these were some of the happiest years of her life. Even though the work was difficult and uncomfortable, Mary was very happy during the time. Money for research was not easy to come. And the Curies continued to teach to supplement their income. Means that they did not have much money for their scientific research and whatever work they were doing. Okay. So both Mary and Pierre had to keep teaching classes to earn money. So how they were meeting their daily expenses? By teaching classes also. Torn between their own work and their jobs, they often forget to eat and sleep. There was means that these both husband and wife, they both were so much dedicated to the work and they were so much busy with their research and their teaching jobs that they used to forget when to eat and sleep. Okay, sometimes they used to skip their meals and their sleep. Thus activity grew and developed. Meanwhile, exhausting little by little the pair of physicists who had given it life. While they were making great progress in their work on radioactivity, the demanding schedule and harsh conditions were slowly wearing out the two scientists who had discovered it. I hope the explanation is quite easy till here. Finally, they achieved the miraculous outcome of their effort of purifying radium. Radium could become the ally of human beings in the war and against cancer. Radium was useful, magnificently useful. A radium industry was about to be born. Means that after a lot of hard work, both they finally were successful in making pure radium. This pure radium had the amazing potential to fight against cancer. Okay. Radium was useful, magnificently useful. A radium industry was about to born. Means that radium was an incredibly useful substance and a new industry was about to start because of it. Pierre explained these things to his wife one Sunday morning. "We have two choices," Pierre said. Pierre told her. We can describe the results of our research without reserve, including the process of purification, or else we can consider ourselves to be the proprietors, the inventors of radium, patent the technique and manufacture radium throughout the world. Means one Sunday Curie had told Mary that they have to make a big decision out of that. Okay, he said that they could either share all their research openly with everyone, or they could keep their discovery a secret, get a patent. Patent means which would give them the exclusive right to make and sell it. Okay, and become rich by producing radium all over the world. Mary reflected for a few seconds, then she said, "It is impossible. I would be contrary to scientific spirit." Means that Mary thought about it for the moment, and then she came with the thing that no, they cannot do that. It would be wrong and goes against the principles of science. Okay. Pierre's serious face lightened. If we remain the proprietors, we could have a fine laboratory too. After listening to the Mary's, advice, Pierre stopped looking so serious and seemed relieved. Then he says that he continued to say that if they kept the patent and the profits, they could also afford to have a good laboratory for their work. Mary's gaze grew fixed. Physicists always publish their researches completely. If our discovery has a commercial future, that is an accident by which we must not profit. And if radium is going to be of use in treating diseases, it is impossible to take advantage of that. So Mary looked very serious. She said that scientists always share all of their work completely. She explained that if their discovery happens to be valuable for business, that's a fortunate accident. Okay, but they should not make money from it. If radium is going to be used to help treat diseases, it would be wrong for them to profit from it. Okay. A moment of simplicity comes. Having decided, Perry and Mary headed for the woods on their beloved bicycles. After they made their decision, Perry and Mary went for a bike ride in the woods, something they love to do. Okay, they had chosen forever between poverty and fortune. Means that they had made a final choice to stay poor instead of becoming rich. In the evening, they came back exhausted and their arms filled with leaves and field flowers. They returned home very tired, carrying leaves and wild flowers they had gathered. On 10th December 1903, the Academy of Science of Stockholm announced that the Nobel Prize in Physics for the current year was awarded half to Henry Becquerel and half to Monsieur and Madame Curie for their discoveries in radioactivity. Means on December 1903, it was announced that the Nobel Prize in Physics would be split. Okay, half of the prize went to Henry Becquerel and the other half went to Marie and Pierre Curie for all their work on radioactivity. The Nobel Prize meant 70,000 gold francs. There were loans to be repaid to Pierre's brothers, Mary's sisters, donations to scientific societies, gifts to students and to a childhood friend of Mary. So means that the Nobel Prize was worth a lot of money. Okay, 70,000 gold francs. They used the money to pay back loans to their families and gave gifts to scientific group, students and friend of Mary. Mary also installed a modern bathroom in their little house and repapered a shabby room, but it never entered her head to mark the occasion by buying a new hat. Means that Mary used some of the money to put a new bathroom in their small house and to put up a new wallpaper in a run-down room. Okay. However, she never thought about using the money to buy herself something luxurious, like buying even a hat. She could not thought about it. Keeping away from the limelight, Mary soon resumed the routine of school and laboratory. Towards 2:30 on Thursday, 19th April 1906, a sultry rainy day, Curie left the university, attempted to cross a road, accidentally stepped into a path of heavy dray, and lost his life in a flash. After the funeral, the government officially proposed to award Mary a pension. She refused flatly. "I am young enough to earn my living and that of my children," she said, displaying her habitual bravery. Means that Mary tried to stay out of the public eye and quickly went back to her normal routine of school and lab work. One humid rainy Thursday afternoon in 1906, Curie left the university. As he was crossing the street, he accidentally walked in front of a heavy horse-drawn cart and died instantly. Okay. After the funeral, the government officially proposed to award Mary a pension. She refused flatly. Means that after the funeral, the government offered to give Mary a regular payment of money. Pension means a regular payment of money, but she refused immediately. She bravely said that she was young enough to earn money for herself and for her children. The Council of the Faculty of Science unanimously decided to entrust Curie's post at the Sorbonne to Mary. This was the first time that the position in French higher education has been given to a woman. Okay, now the University of Science Committee all agreed to give Curie's teaching job at the Sorbonne University to Mary. This was a historic moment, as it was the first time a woman was given such a high-level teaching position in France. Okay. On the day of her first lecture, the amphitheater was packed and Mary walked into a storm of applause. Means, when Mary went to give her very first lecture, the lecture hall was completely full and the crowd of people cheered loudly of her as she entered. She inclined her head and waited for the ovation to stop. Means that she bowed her head and waited for the loud applause to end. Then she stared straight ahead of her and said, "When one considers the progress that has been made in physics in the past 10 years, one is surprised at the advance that has taken place in our ideas concerning electricity and matter." Means, then she looked straight ahead and began her lecture by saying, "When you think about how much physics has advanced in the last 10 years, it's amazing how much our understanding of things like electricity and matter has grown." Okay. Marie Curie had resumed the course at the precise sentence where Pierre Curie had left it. Means that Mary started her lecture by continuing the exact same sentence that her late husband Curie was speaking when he gave his last lecture. Tears rose to the eyes and rolled down the faces there. Means that this act was so emotional that people in the audience started to cry. Now the personal fame of Madame Curie mounted and spread like a bursting rocket, and Sweden awarded her the Nobel Prize in Chemistry for the year 1911. Means Mary's fame grew so fast that in 1911 she was given another Nobel Prize, this time in chemistry. No other man or woman to date has ever received the prize for two different subjects. Okay, at that time, no one else had ever won a Nobel Prize in two different fields. To the end of her life, Mary continued her work with passion and dedication. For the rest of her life, Mary kept working on her research with great passion and dedication. On Friday, 6 July 1934, the robust heart beat no more. Mary was buried beside Curie in the cemetery at Sceaux in the presence of her family, friends, and co-workers and students who loved her. Means Mary died on 6 July 1934. And she was buried next to her husband Curie in a cemetery. Her funeral was attended by her close family, friends, students, colleagues who all loved her. So this was all about the story of Marie Curie and her husband. Okay, they were the great discoverers. And about Eve Curie. Eve Curie was the youngest child of Nobel Prize winning scientist Curie and Mary. She gained fame as a concert pianist, writer, and biographer. This account, condensed from Eve's famous biography of her mother, Madame Curie, appeared in the Reader's Digest in 1959. Eve Curie, the youngest daughter of Marie and Curie, became a well-known musician, writer, and author. The story we just read is a short version of a famous book she wrote about her mother, and it was published in the magazine Reader's Digest in 1959. I hope you liked the explanation. Thank you very much, children. Have a great day.